What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Groomer podcast. I'm your host, Alex Martin, and today I'm sitting down with Abby Kirwan, founder of Masterpiece Canine Spa in the downtown DC area. Masterpiece opened in 2018 with the idea to be the Four Seasons of pet grooming. I love that. I'm shocked nobody else has used that before. It already paints a picture in my head. So I brought Abby here today to talk about transparency, to talk about high quality customer service, and to talk about what this means and how to build your business to actually be the Four Seasons of pet grooming. So Abby, thanks so much for coming, sitting down with me today. Let's just get right into it. What made you set out to be the Four Seasons of pet grooming? Did you work at Four Seasons? Did you see that somewhere and you're like, I'm going to go do that?
So thanks for having me. This is such a great platform to share and get information from other groomers and grooming business owners. So I'm really appreciative to have the opportunity.
Of course.
My business partner, Rachel, and I both worked as bartenders at the Capitol Grill, which is a very high-end steakhouse. My background is in showing dogs. I showed dogs back in my 20s. I showed standard poodles. So I had the dog background, but no money. Couldn't have started a business if I tried. And I took my own dogs to groomers, but I always felt like there was a missing link in customer service in this specific industry. So one of my longtime regular bar guests, I was going through a rough divorce, and she said, I'd really love to support you. I love your work ethic. You're always, pumping up a customer, then you always have a full bar. And she said, would you ever want to open your own business? And I said, hell yeah, I would. But I have no money. So she did the initial investment. She was our third business partner. My business partner currently, Rachel, started the business with me as well. She had that same hustle, that same customer service that a high-end steakhouse really needs. And I said, let's take what we've learned in this business and match it to the dog grooming industry, which I felt like was severely lacking in communication, severely lacking in that high-end customer service. And, we all want to put out quality work, but having it all come together in one package, I think, is rare.
For sure. I mean, I love that. Take what we learned in such a high stress, high quality customer service environment and apply it to dog grooming. I mean, we've had a lot of folks on the show. We've met a lot of business owners, obviously, throughout our time doing this. And I don't think I've ever heard anyone go from high-end steakhouse to dog grooming. So, I mean, it obviously makes sense, just even learning a little bit about you before the show, that's the journey here. When you sat down and you started crafting what this North Star customer experience would look like, I mean, what were some of those initial things that were no-brainers, the first things down on paper of like, okay, Rachel, we know that we need to have X, Y, and Z once we start building this place out?
We knew we needed really good talent because it wasn't going to be me and it wasn't going to be Rachel. So most people, go, okay, I'm going to do everything. And I think one of the things we did right was we didn't try to do everything. I had a standard poodle at the time who was a show quality standard poodle. I also had a 2-year-old daughter, and there was no way I was keeping my dog in show coat. So Caitlin Mayo, who started the salon with us and is an unbelievably talented groomer, started the salon with us as our head groomer, and her talent is really incomparable. So she brought the talent to the table, which we needed. We needed to put those high-end quality grooms out. The other thing we wanted to do, I think a lot of people make the mistake of starting out and trying to undercut everyone around them. Let's come in at a lower price. Let's come in and offer.
They want clients.
Yeah. And we actually priced ourselves higher than everyone around us. And when I tell you it was hard, it was hard. Like, I worked all day, and then I put my daughter on my back. I had my beautifully groomed dog he looked perfect at all times. And I walked up and down every street I possibly could and handed out business cards to every person that I saw with a dog.
You're kidding. That's how you got your first clients? Hey, I'm going to take my beautifully groomed dog on walks and hand out business cards?
And happy hours. And anywhere I could take my dog, I took my dog in DC. Our other clients were clients from the steakhouse. They all heard that we were opening this business and they went, oh, I have a dog, I'll bring it in. And all of them are still our clients. So it was, we went from one industry that, had a very high-end clientele and kind of shifted them into a new industry.
I want to ask you a question, a little bit of a blast from the past. I'm sure as you were getting it started, brand new business, people, may think you're a nice person, but they may not have heard of you, right? May not have
Mhm.
heard of Masterpiece quite yet, etc. And you hand out that business card or you start that initial conversation with a could-be client and you tell them your pricing.
Mhm.
They push back, I would imagine, a good portion of them right away and say, oh, I pay X right now. Or last time I took Fluffy and I paid Y. Like
Yes.
how did you stay? A, what would you say to that? And B, how did you stay so, I guess, disciplined is the word, to be like, nope, that's it. That's what we're charging. No discounts, no first time client discounts, anything like that. So A,
Absolutely.
what would you say? And B, how would you like stay in that zone that you wouldn't bend?
So one thing we did to set ourselves apart is we made ourselves an express service groomer, which obviously means the clients come in at their appointment time. We do not have any cages. We do not have any kennels. And that made us very different and very attractive to a lot of clients that were already paying somewhat close to us. So,
Yeah.
the price, we didn't price ourselves so high that we just outpriced ourselves, but we made ourselves different. And the other thing that we did was, in the beginning, my business partner, who was our financial investor, her name was Denise, she baked these amazing chocolate chip cookies. So we always had warm chocolate chip cookies. We always had champagne or wine. And I can't tell you the amount of afternoons I spent sitting in the window of our shop talking to clients through their entire appointment
I
because
love
we had
that.
the time to do it. But, if you set yourself up with having the ability to do that, you really do yourself a favor. So if you want to be the groomer, the scheduler, the receptionist, you're going to make it really hard on yourself. So give yourself a little grace if you're thinking about starting a business like this and say, I'm very good at what I do, but I'm going to start a business and I'm going to have another groomer to spend with those clients to make this a really special experience, and I'm not going to burn myself completely out.
Love it. So we're only 5 minutes in right now, but I've already got kind of the path here in my head of, okay, first we said the first key was kind of finding top talent. You just echoed that once again. It's like finding the vendors of your team, whatever it may be, making sure that you focus on that, because otherwise you're going to burn yourself out. You're not going to be able to be great in what you actually want to do, right? So finding that. Two, just getting out there and finding a market. So you guys said, hey, we're going to be kind of this like Four Seasons level market. We're going to cater high, let's call it high clients, right? Like high level, personal experiences, right? Customer experience. We're going to focus a lot on that, that sort of stuff. So pick your market so you're not, average in everything. You're really good in your one market. And then three, you're finding a way to get people in your salon. And it seems like for you guys, it was leaning into that, hey, we don't use any crates or kennels, but we're
Yes.
express. And so finding people to get in. And then four, what you just said is once they're in, building the experience, just so high craft that once they're in, it seems like they would never want to leave, right? I mean, you've been saying they're sitting there enjoying champagne with you during their dog's appointments. And I would imagine after that first appointment, there were very few people that didn't come back, right? Because you just showed them such a world-class experience, something that they were probably not used to before when they were taking their dog to the groomer.
Right. Or, a nice cappuccino. You don't have to have the alcohol. You can just treat people. It's like when you take a luxury car in. There's a huge difference between taking a luxury car in to be serviced as opposed to just, taking the average car and, they've got the Mr. Coffee in the corner and you can help yourself. Whereas if you buy a high-end vehicle, you're taken care of, you're treated differently. This is no different. People love that experience. And, we're in a city where people have that money to spend and they want that little extra bit, even to watch their dog being groomed.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, we had people that stood tableside as their dogs were being styled. We
Really?
don't do that
And
anymore. Absolutely. Yep, we
you were
did.
okay with that?
Absolutely. In the beginning, when you're opening a business and somebody says, I have a really difficult dog, it's had a really hard time before, sure, we don't do it anymore. We've
Yeah.
learned that it's more difficult for the dog now to have that owner standing there. But that was a learning experience. And in the beginning, you're kind of trying what works, what doesn't.
Right. No, and I think, going back to your original point about giving yourself some grace, it's like this is a brand new thing, and there's a lot of hard things that you just don't even know about yet, right? And so giving yourself grace to make those, we won't even call that a mistake, but to just try things. It's like, okay, yeah,
Trial and
sure,
error.
come by the table, see what happens, right? Or, hey, let me go out and try and hand out business cards, see what happens, right?
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
amazes me a little bit about you, Abby, is everyone, I don't think anyone would disagree with everything you've just said, right? Like what you said about like starting a business and, kind of picking your market and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, yes, all of that is what I would expect, right? But what amazes me is how you held the line, because I think a lot of us, when we have empty books, we'll do whatever we take to fill them up, right? And so, again, kind of another blast from the past. Tell me about, do you remember how long it took you to like get full books, or even like feel comfortable that like, phew, okay, this is like not a huge risk anymore. Like the risk is kind of died down a little bit. I have clients, etc.
Oh, do I remember it? So
You're like, I didn't sleep during that time.
and I still have like those dreams where I wake up and I'm like, oh, what? So one of the things Rachel and I did was we didn't quit bartending. We continued to bartend at night. So we wanted to make sure that the stylists that we brought in, we started with two, Caitlin and Lauren Mantle, who is still with us and incredible, um, and gave them both very attractive commissions when they came in the door. And we went, okay, I don't think we're going to pay ourselves for a while. So we better keep our night jobs. So we would both work, both of us a lot of the time would work all the days and then go to our job at night. And yes, we were exhausted. And I think we didn't pay ourselves really anything for at least the first 6 months. And we were lucky to even start cutting ourselves small checks. What changed things for us was the pandemic, which was probably our biggest hurdle, but also completely set the industry on its ear, and the way that we were able to handle what could have been just a complete disaster. We both were able to quit bartending during the pandemic, mostly because we had no choice, because restaurants closed. So what we did was in DC in March, we knew that my husband owns restaurants, and at the time we were dating, and he knew that that was coming. He was going to have to shut all his restaurants down, and he was trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to make this work where I'm going to actually have a business at the end of however long this goes. When DC made the announcement that they were going to completely shut down, I called the mayor's office immediately, and I said, grooming is essential. I said, if we don't groom dogs for the next 6 to 9 months, you're going to have cruelty and neglect cases, or you're going to have dogs get injured when their owners are grooming them at home.
Yeah.
So I need you to deem us essential right away. And I spoke with the mayor's assistant, and they did. So DC was deemed essential. I know it's crazy, but like that's when you're a small business owner,
I mean,
you better
that's
figure it out.
wild. That's
Yeah.
really wild. I mean, Abby,
And
you saved DC grooming.
well, I wouldn't say that because I don't know what anybody else did.
I know, right.
But,
It could have been
but
other
what
people
I
that
what
called
I
in,
was
but
looking at was I had this business that we were a year and a half in, and I was going, I'm not going to have
gotta
this
do whatever
business
it
at the end of
takes.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I talked to all my team, and I said, we're going to close our doors and we're going to lock our doors. No one is going to be allowed in, and Rachel and I are going to go outside, and we're going to bring dogs in from cars. The owners will never get out of their cars. So that's what we did for the first 4 months. We would take a slip lead out. We would wear our masks. Everyone would be masked. It was all in those crazy text messages, reminders. I mean, my poor clients, they've gotten these paragraph long instructions. But if you have to have everything in writing, and that's one thing in this business,
100%.
get it in writing, put it in writing so there are no questions. And so that's what we did. And then we gradually shifted to, we were lucky enough, we had a big backyard. So eventually we were exchanging the dogs in the backyard, but we didn't open our doors again until we moved locations. Had no one in so we went from this place that had champagne and cookies and we're, sitting in the lobby with clients to a place where the doors were locked. But we had those relationships with people. And by then we had those reviews up where people trusted us, and it made a huge difference.
No, I mean, kudos to you guys for pushing through that. I mean, we echo it all the time here at the Daily Groomer that people that have, COVID is the best and the worst thing that ever happened to grooming, right? I mean, as simply put, but I mean, people like you that mustered strength and were able to do whatever it took to get through that time. I mean, it's like you guys have a badge, a Medal of Honor on your shoulder for the rest of this, right?
Well, it worked out great for all of us too, because I think the people that did
100%.
try to groom at home were like, I'll pay you what, I mean, it was like,
Whatever it takes. Yeah.
I was trying to, homeschool my daughter during all that, and I would have
Yeah.
paid a teacher whatever they wanted to take her back. So
Right.
I guess.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it definitely did wonders. You mentioned there getting stuff in writing. I was joking around with you before we hit record that the page on your website, I've no joke sent to 15 of my friends. And for everyone out there listening, I'll make sure I link it in the show notes. But if you go to Abby's website, and Abby, let me see if I have the link even just here, masterpiececaninespa.com. She's got what I would call like a pseudo manifesto on everything that you should expect taking your dog to Masterpiece. And Abby, I need to know, is this something you guys have always done? Because you have your price range on there. You have your commission on there. I don't think I've ever seen that you have what you pay your groomers public. Have you always done this, or is this a newer thing?
That's something that we added, I think, when we moved, because I thought it was so important. Obviously, we take very good care of our groomers. We try to start people out between 40 and 45% just so that we have somewhere to go with it. And then, as they are with us longer, most of them are at the 50% commission. But what I would explain to groomers when they're looking for a job, always ask what the business charges. Don't care about what your commission is. Care about what you're down to actually make, because 50% of 100 is less than 30% of 200. So it's wonderful to, bargain with people and say, I'll only come in for 50% commission. And I've definitely had people do that. But I send everybody, I'm more than willing when I'm hiring someone to send them a list of all of our rates. Here's what we charge. Here's where our haircut prices start at $205 for a very small dog. I would much rather you beautifully groom 4 dogs a day and make what you could make grooming 10 dogs haphazardly. And I don't understand why this business doesn't treat itself with respect. And I see so many business owners, I'll go on a business owners board and they go, I have somebody that just started, she's been with me 7 months and it just took her 5 hours to do 2 standard poodles. This is unacceptable. Are you joking me? Like, what are you, I mean, what are you trying to turn out? Are you the IHOP of dog grooming? Or because you're going to hurt a dog, stress a groomer out. Like, this is a baby groomer. Why is she even doing standard poodles yet? So to go back to your question, that is something we've added recently, because I think it's really important to be transparent with clients when you are expensive. Why are we expensive? Here's why we're expensive. 50% of your dog's groom is already going to your groomer. I don't want my groomers. I've lived off of tips. I've been a bartender. Sometimes it was wonderful, and sometimes I got so screwed. I don't want anybody that works for me to not make a really good living because they're too good. My team is so good and they're so passionate. I want them to be positive that at the end of the week, they have everything they need to buy a house, everything they need to make sure their kids are going to go to college. This job is too hard. This job is so hard on everybody. And, yes, I have had attorneys say to me, your hourly is more expensive than I charge. And I go, well, I don't know what to tell you. It just is what it is.
Right. Right. Yeah. Don't judge my business if it's working. And obviously there's no shock then to why you guys are able to hire and retain top talent, right? I mean, with what you guys are paying and the experience that you provide, obviously not only to your pet owners, but to your staff as well. I mean, it sounds like I want to work there. I mean, it sounds like the best place to work right now. But I am curious, we talked about the difference in, the 2-day poodle, 2 days or 2 poodles a day versus the IHOP of grooming at 6, 7, 8. And that even maybe sounds average, right? 8, 9, 10 is maybe more IHOP style. how do we, how, like, that's just human nature to want to, all right, hey, I have a craft. I want to not only get really good at it, but there's this level of like time, I think, in a lot of our heads, no matter what we're doing, right? Folding laundry, doing dishes, grooming dogs, whatever it is, from like low skill to high skill, like grooming, we want to get better. And a lot of times better in our own heads as humans means, higher quality, but also quicker, right? So how do you maintain that level of like, hey guys, it's okay to take your time. It's okay to only to do 3-4 dogs a day, even when I know we've got, 3 or 4 more that we could add to your schedule for the day. How do you maintain that level of balance?
I think that's the most important thing as a business owner you can do for your staff is to get them to slow down. And it's so opposite of what business owners think they should do. Putting out quality is going to get you return. It's always going to get you a return. So one of the things that we started doing last year, because it is very difficult to come in and work for us. I know that it sounds like Disneyland, but I'm tough. Like, I expect the grooms that go out the door to be perfect, like perfectly round paws, nothing wrong with the face. Everything has to be perfect. I want your relationship with that client when you do that check-in to be incredible. So that's very hard to come from a place where you have been grooming 10 dogs and you're just expected to like turn and burn, to suddenly take a step back and have somebody critiquing your work and going, that hair's out of place, that you need to straighten that up. And it's hard on people at first. So what we started doing was bringing people in as what we call junior stylists. And we actually did a lower tier, just like in a hair salon, where the junior stylists' haircuts cost less. And we explained to the clients, these haircuts will be less. They're still expensive. They're still probably more than most places charge for regular stylists. And they're going to take longer. This 2-hour groom is going to turn into now a 4-hour groom because they're learning and they're growing. And I'm also extremely selective about what dogs we put on junior stylists. They have to be dogs that we've seen regularly. They have to be dogs that are on a schedule, no more than 8 weeks apart. They have to be dogs that are not going to be wiggly or difficult or aggressive or anything. Because when you are learning how to groom something and make it perfection, it's hard. It's really hard. And again, I go back to that, give yourself some grace. And it's been a tough thing for a couple of people to want to do because I think everyone has an ego. We all are proud of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't start out at the Capitol Grill.
Mm-hmm.
I started out in a dive bar.
Mm-hmm.
You don't start out being awesome. You start out learning and learning and learning and looking to other people to make you better.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you're a perfectionist and that you expect every dog to be perfect. And I'm sure there's lots of groomers in the audience shaking their head and being like, man, I never want to work there. But but you do that at let's go all the way back to the beginning. You picked your market and you said, that's okay. I can't be everything for everybody, for clients or for staff, right? But I am curious, how do you check or like audit these? Are you looking at every dog going out the door and you've got like a little checklist? You're like, okay, let me check the paws, let me check the rounded muzzle, let me check XYZ. Or is that something that you expect each groomer to do before they do it? Or what's kind of the practices that you guys have set in place to ensure that the dogs are high quality?
So we have 8 people on staff. So what I tell everybody is everybody look at each other's dogs. Nobody here is better than anybody else. Everyone here has the ability with their eyes. I'm busy, like we do 40 dogs a day some days. I don't have time to look at every dog going out. So I need for people to really be proud of what they're putting out. I think that makes a huge difference. You can't teach somebody pride in work. That's something that they just have innately. And that was something I dealt with, when I was bartending. I definitely bartended with people that I never wanted to bartend with again, because it's like I'm over here hustling and making us money and having a full bar, and you're like leaning on the bar. I'm bartending in circles around you. And I don't ever want my staff to have to deal with that. I want everybody that works there to have the same work ethic, the same pride, and nobody to have such a big ego that if, there's going to be mistakes made. I make mistakes. I have sometimes, hopefully when I make a scheduling mistake, it's a beagle and not a Newfoundland. But, like that's one of the things that Rachel and we do everything front of house. Our staff does nothing. They don't answer phones. They don't answer emails. They don't do any of the scheduling. We do all of that. And have I made mistakes? Absolutely. But when I do, I have to own them. I have to own. And when that Newfoundland walks through the door, I guess I'm giving it a bath. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
we don't turn someone away because we made a mistake. And it's the same thing with grooming. If you make a mistake, which you will over time, we comp the groom. If it's a big enough mistake, if it's okay, this hair is out of place. Well, yeah, we're going to fix it for you.
Right.
But it's just taking pride in what you do, I think is just a really important thing. And again, this industry, I just feel like there are definitely, when I go in the grooming business owners boards, there are definitely people who share that same level of pride. And then I see the ones that, they've cut a dog in a completely wrong cut. And they go, well, what should I do? You should comp that groom.
Right.
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 They go, are you crazy? And I go, no, why would you made a mistake.
Yeah,
Like if I
right.
delivered somebody a steak and it was, well done instead of medium rare, they're not paying for it. Are you joking? Like
Right.
but people don't have that level of customer service. It's an industry where it doesn't exist. So
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. You talk about too, I mean, your example of going from dive bar to Capitol Grill. I would imagine there's quite a few people, as you built your team up to 8 that were maybe closer to that dive bar level, or maybe we're at somewhere in between, right? But still needing to learn and grow. I noticed on your guys' website that you had pointed out that continuing education for your team is a must.
mhm.
Talk to me a little bit about that. Is there some, hey, every year I require X amount of hours, or do you give your staff budget to go to conferences? Like, what do you guys do to encourage continuing education?
So it's really important, and it's very, very difficult because obviously they all like to stay very busy.
Yeah.
We do subscribe to Groomhouse, so every one of our staff has the availability to just go and view those videos anytime. We also pay for seminars with various groomers throughout the country. I think, that's one of the things that is one of the hardest things for groomers to make the time to do, because it is time where you're not making money. You're taking a day and you're going and doing something, but it's so important. My staff did a Schnauzer class last year. And it's so important. And I'm certainly not going to be able to help them with a Schnauzer class, but we cover that.
As a business owner, how do you think through the ROI of paying, for a full day where you're not going to make any money from pet owners, right? You're basically clearing the books for that day. And, you're paying for their course class, or, whatever the actual cost to take that course or seminar is. So you've kind of got 2 added costs there. That's not cheap. So how do you value as a business owner the ROI of that?
So I think one of the big things is that we're only open 5 days a week. We make sure that our groomers always have a day off everybody's off Sunday, Monday, and then they get to choose their own schedule. So when someone starts with me, everyone has to work Saturday when they start, but we book out for the entire year. So they tell me, this is my dream schedule. I want a Saturday off every month. I want to work 8 to 3. And that's what they get, because it doesn't make any sense for me to tell someone else what hours they need to work, or that they have to work every single weekend. As a bartender, I've done it. It sucks. And I don't want anybody that works for us, and my business partner feels the exact same way. We've both worked in an industry that took a lot out of us. And I don't want our staff to feel that way. I want our staff to feel like they love coming to work. If they work on a dog that they don't enjoy working on, you never have to see that dog again. Why should your day be miserable? If you hate Chihuahuas, there will never be a Chihuahua on your table.
Right,
I would be an idiot. And I'm lucky enough that we've built up a great stylist team that we have that. So most of the time when they go to the classes, they schedule it for their days off. And they all seem to be fine with that. We obviously cover the class cost. That's really important. I think with the commission rate that we pay, I would love to offer things like medical benefits. I would love to offer things like paid vacation. But, from everything I've seen with the numbers, you really need to pay people hourly to be able to offer those kinds of things. So I feel like until we get to a point where the staff would prefer to be hourly as opposed to, yes, we make this much and we can count on that, you just kind of do what they'd like you to do on that.
Makes sense. One other question I had about you guys' process is you go pretty in depth about your intake process for a new client. And my curiosity was spiked, obviously, reading that, where I'm like, mostly, most places, at the base level, you're just calling up and saying, hey, can I bring in my doodle next week, right? Maybe if we're lucky, you go to a step further and they'll actually send you an in-depth form, right? But it seemed like your guys' was even more in-depth than that. So talk to me about what your intake form or what your intake process entails.
So we talk to every new client. Rachel or I calls every new client. We call them at the end of the day when it's quiet, when all the dogs have left. So that usually adds about an hour onto our day at least. And we talk in detail about your dog. We talk about when was the last time your dog was groomed, what schedule, what's your dog's personality like, how old is your dog? If your dog is over the age of 10, the first thing I'm going to do is pick up the phone and call your veterinarian. And I'm going to have a very frank and honest discussion with your veterinarian about what issues your dog may have during the grooming process. Because, you'll have somebody who calls, and I know every groomer, this is their fear. You've got a 16-year-old dog that nobody knew is walking in the door. I mean, that's a really difficult thing. So
Bad spot to put someone in too.
it is. And let's be honest, owners aren't always honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that the hard way. And it made me realize, I have to get this straight from a vet. I need to know exactly what this dog, I want the records sent to me. And that way I feel comfortable. And if I don't feel comfortable, we refer out for a vet groom. And I'm very honest about why. So the intake process is very important. And I tell everybody, I want to match your dog with who is going to enjoy grooming your dog, and that I think your dog is going to get the best groom from. All of our groomers have different strengths, different weaknesses, and they all enjoy working on different dogs. So we're really lucky. Sometimes we have cats. So I've got 2 people that work on cats. Do you like your cat to be shorter? Do you like your cat to be fluffier? And that's another thing is, cats we're grooming in an open salon. So they need to be booked either early or late when it's quiet. So there's all kinds of things that go into where we're putting these dogs. It's not just, I have a 2-hour opening here, there it goes, and good luck to whoever's got it.
Right. You need to make sure it's actually matched up. And I think, honestly, that plays pretty well with your kind of like 4 seasons, analogy, right? Where it's like, I can't just walk in, say, hey, give me a room. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that. No, so that makes a lot of sense. And I like that. And honestly, it protects you guys too. It makes sure that this is also you're the business owner. You can turn them away if you don't want them for whatever reason, right? So if you can talk to me before I bring my pet in, you're like, I don't know, I got some weird feelings about that. It's like, okay, you don't have to take it, right? So exactly. I actually like that. It's an added layer of protection, but at the cost of your time, right? It's like at some point, man, those are some long days, Abby. Those are some very long days.
And that's where having a partner really comes in so handy. And I know a lot of people talk about starting a business with a business partner and how difficult that can be. I highly, highly recommend, if you are thinking of opening a business, finding someone who shares your work ethic, shares your beliefs, shares how you treat people and how you would treat your staff. And do yourself a favor and open a business with someone else so that you get a break, because the burnout rate is massive.
Yeah, it's too much. I mean, it seems like the pros from your guys' partnership especially far outweigh any sort of cons. Last question, and I'll let you go because I know you're probably slammed today. Talk to me about what's next for you guys. I mean, you guys you've been in the game now since 2018. You've seen some pretty low lows, and it seems like you guys are rocking some good highs right now. Do we have dreams to open up more salons? Do we have dreams to open up bigger space? So, kind of what's next? What are you guys thinking about?
We have definitely talked about opening up 2nd and 3rd locations. Franchising scares us because we're both control freaks. So, I think for me, anytime you open a 2nd and 3rd location, you lose a little bit of the specialness of what you're able to create. So I would love to find managers. That's a very huge goal. My husband, like I said, owns restaurants, and he's been a great role model for me in terms of how to grow your business and how to take a step back and enjoy your life. Because I'm a total workaholic, and I would work from 5 a.m. until 7 p.m, 5 days a week if I could. but there has to be a balance. And I think that
Mhm.
we try to pass that on to our staff as well. My business partner is the exact same way. She, but we both love our home lives. So finding a manager maybe for Masterpiece DC 1 to 2 days a week, and possibly potentially opening a second and third location. There's so much of a market out there. We have people right now. We have people that fly in from New York. We have people who drive in from
What?
Virginia. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We
You
have
have
people that,
clients that'll fly in with their pets for you guys?
absolutely. Yeah, because
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
I mean, we have people who fly back from, DC, as I said, is very transient. So
Right.
people go away for the whole summer, and we have several clients who fly back and forth with their dogs so that they keep them on that schedule, even though they're gone for the whole summer.
That's awesome.
It's really rewarding, and we don't take that ever for granted,
That's
how
what I was
lucky
just
we
about to
are.
mention. Is like you guys are so lucky that you have clients that, and again, I'm not saying luck as in like that was just handed to you guys. Like you
No,
guys
we're very
earned
lucky.
that very clearly, right? But
Mhm.
that's just a testament to your customer service right there.
Our
That
clients are amazing,
your
and they
clients are
stay on the
willing to
schedule.
fly.
We tell them to, they ask about it. They say, "Could we go an extra week? Do you think our dog's okay?" Like, it's okay to wake up to texts and go to bed to texts when they're all from clients who are literally asking you what the best thing is for their pet. How do you fault that? You know?
That's how you know when you've done a pretty good job, Abby.
Ah, thank you.
Like you guys have definitely crushed it, and that's why, like I was telling you a little bit before hitting the record button here, that I was looking forward to this interview because I could just tell from the level of detail that you put into your policies and procedures and how you guys do things that you don't take no for an answer, and you're running a top notch operation out there. I mean, I gotta get out to DC to see this. I
I'd
really
love to
do.
have you in. Yeah, we
Yeah.
would love that.
No, I
And
will definitely come over.
we're incredibly lucky to have the stylist team that we do. I don't ever take that for granted either, that we have people who share our passion. I just said to somebody the other day, the one thing you can't teach work ethic, and you can't teach how to love an animal.
No.
And I've had we do a working interview before you come to work with us, and you groom one of our dogs. And the amount of people that I've had come in that I just go, I wouldn't have them touch a client dog. And these are people that have been grooming for years, but there's no passion, there's no compassion.
Mhm.
And those are the things that are so important. I don't care how beautiful a groomer is, and I don't care how good of a groomer you are. If you can't take a step back and make a dog comfortable on your table and make a person who's dropping the dog off, these are babies. I get it.
Mhm.
They're our family members. And so you have to be able to also deal with the human side of it, the emotional side of it. And it's hard. It can be really
Yeah,
hard.
I mean, I think that's one of the biggest like misconceptions of the industry is that like the job is so much more than just grooming, right? And that's the pro and the con of it, right? Which is, we go back to what you said about how you run your businesses. You try and you do whatever you can so that your groomers can just groom, but you're never going to be able to pull everything away from it, right? There's always going to be that client experience. There's always going to be that compassion element too, where it's not just can I pick the right tool and do a beautiful cut, right? You still got to be loving on that dog and have that stuff you can't teach,
That
right?
bond.
So I think that's the hard part is it's always more than just grooming, no matter how hard you try. Well, listen, Abby, this has been amazing. I want to give people a chance to find you or to check out your guys' website or check out what you guys have built out there in DC. What's the best place for that? The website or your Facebook?
The website is great. Our Instagram, I've worked really hard, not knowing the first thing about social media, but I've worked really hard at building our Instagram up because I think it's such a great way to display what our stylists are capable of. So if you go to Masterpiece Canine, I should know this. I should know exactly what our, but if you
No,
search
you're
Masterpiece
okay.
Canine Spa, it will come up. And I try to do um, a couple of reels and photos every single day. If I don't get to it every day, every other day, but it shows you the work that we do. We just did a Halloween groom that was absolutely spectacular. So that's displayed on there. So it's just a lot of really fun stuff. And that's the first place I tell people when they're looking to see our work, go to our Instagram page. And it gives you a lot of our philosophy as well of how we do things, why we do things the way that we do. I try to put those out into the universe so that everybody that follows us gets kind of the feeling for who we are.
Yeah, I'm on it right now. I wish I could have made the bark ball. That looks like it was a blast. That looks awesome.
It's an amazing event. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, and if you guys can't get a hold of Abby, obviously reach out to me and I am more than happy to connect you. Abby, thanks so much for spending the time with us today and sharing a little bit about what you built at Masterpiece. Like I said, I'm going to take you up on that offer next time I'm in DC. I would love to see what
Please
you guys
do.
built.
Would love to see you.
All right. And that's the pod.